everyone, welcome back. We are on the pottery painting portion of story time for the book Spaghetti with the Yeti. So everybody should have in front of them their spaghetti bowl that we're going to be creating. Here's our sample. A dish with some water, your paper plate, all of your different paint pots and bottles, a sponge dauber, your yarn, a paper towel, and some brushes. Okay, so you should have a square brush, a round brush, and the little brush you don't necessarily need until we sign our name, okay? So let's get started. We're gonna start by painting the inside of our bowl with 2 coats of white. So that's your paint pot with the number 2300 on it, 2300. Go ahead and open that paint pot, and we're gonna use our square brush. We'll get it wet, but then I like to dry it off on my paper towel. And go ahead and dip straight into the paint pot, and we're gonna paint the inside of our bowl with 2 coats of white paint. Okay? So go ahead and get lots of paint on there. Get it on nice and thick. We want a good thick layer, but we don't want it to be drippy, so we kind of spread it out. Sometimes in the video, I might go a little bit fast, or you might not be quite caught up to where we are. Feel free to pause the video and follow along at your own pace, okay? Let's get 2 good coats of white on here. Here we go. I have my first coat done. And it dries pretty fast with that first coat, so I'm gonna go ahead and start my second. Remember, we're doing a nice thick layer, but we're not letting it get drippy. We're spreading it out. Smooth all those really thick spots out. Spread them out so it's all even all over the whole entire inside of the bowl. Just like that. And I am done. So I'm going to rinse out my white brush. And again, I'm going to dry it off on my paper towel. And I'm all done with the white paint now, so I can put the cover on that and set it aside. Next, I'm going to use my blue paint. It should have the number 2396 on it, and it's the blue color. I'm going to open up that paint pot, and I'm going to take my bowl and I'm going to flip it upside down. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the white on the outside with the blue, except I don't want to paint this center part right here in the middle. This center circle, I'm going to leave that unpainted so I have place to write my name. All right, so go ahead and take your blue paint and start painting the outside of your bowl. Just like with the white, we're doing 2 heavy coats, but we spread it all out so it's nice and smooth and not dripping anywhere. And you might get some paint on your table at this time, but that's okay because our paints all just wipe right off. Let's go ahead and go around. That nice blue color on the bowl. Bring that color right up to that edge, but not to the inside of the circle. Just like that. And now I have my first coat of blue done. I'm going to go ahead, again, just like with the white, it dried pretty quickly because it's my first coat, so I'm going to go ahead and do my second coat of blue. Okay, make sure you cover up any thin spots. Get all the way down to the bottom, even if it means painting the table a little bit. Spread out any lines or thick marks. Hopefully someone else will get that telephone, since I am not able to at the moment. Okay, and we'll just keep painting till we get the whole thing covered with our second coat. Just like that. I'm even gonna have a blue circle on the table. Okay, so I'm all done with the blue. I'm gonna rinse out my brush. And then just dry it off a little bit. And now I'm all done with this size brush, so I can set it off to the side. And I'm going to take my blue paint pot and put the cover on it, because I am also all done with the blue paint pot. I can set that aside. All right, so now I'm just gonna use my paper plate like a fan and dry the outside of my bowl until it's not shiny. I don't want it to be shiny anymore before I touch it. It's gonna dry pretty quickly, but we just use our fan to help a little bit. I mean, our plate, like a fan, to help dry it off. That's looking pretty good. Most of my shine is gone. Before I flip it over, I'm gonna get my spaghetti painting ready. So next we're gonna take our bottle that is the yellow orangey color, and that's gonna be our noodles. You can see. And we're gonna use our string or yarn at this time. So I'm gonna put some of this yellow color on my paper plate. A little puddle right there. And then I think my bowl is dry, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. All right, so next I'm going to use my string and I'm going to put it, this is the messy part, I'm going to put it in the yellow paint. So what I like to do is I like to make a loop with my string and hold the two loose ends with one finger and then put the rest of it into the paint. Okay, and I kind of just wipe off the extra, but I get this in there like that. And then I'm going to take my string and I'm going to lay it in my bowl. And then I just kind of touch down on the top of it. And I can pull it up and I have a spaghetti noodle. So basically, we're gonna do the same thing over and over. We're just gonna keep repeating this process, all right? So this time I'm gonna put my string in a different spot and maybe even in a little bit different shape. And I'm just gonna tap it down and lift it up. Spaghetti noodle. Sometimes you might even be able to get 2 spaghetti noodles out of 1 paint dipping, but that might be a little bit farther down in the process when your string is saturated with paint. Just tap it down and pick it up, and there's another noodle. Okay, and just keep repeating this process over and over. I take off the extra paint so it's not all drippy. Put it up here on the side this time. Just like that. Spaghetti noodle. Let's see if I can get 2 out of this one. Yep, I sure did. Take off all that extra paint. It's kind of messy, but that's kind of the part that makes it fun. Like that. Spaghetti noodle. Okay, let's keep going. Some of your noodles will be a little bit thicker, some will be a little bit thinner. That's okay, that just adds to the look. All right, and a lot of them are even gonna get covered up by the sauce. Ooh, look at this one, I have a twist in my noodle. Pick it up. So we're just gonna keep trying to cover all that white space until it looks like we have a bowl full of noodles. Are you having fun? A little bit messy, but that's okay. I'm gonna try to make a straight noodle this time. Ooh, that was a big one. See how messy it is? Look at my hands. If you start to get too much paint on your hands or it's just getting too messy for you, go ahead and stop. Wipe off your hands, use your paper towel, whatever you need to do, and then just start again. Make sure you get some spaghetti up the sides of your bowl. We want it to look like a full bowl of spaghetti. And make sure you keep moving that string around. You don't want to keep putting your noodles in the exact same spot. You want to cover all that white space in there. If you're having a hard time with your string, you can always make it shorter. Shorter pieces might be a little bit easier to move around. Just take a scissors and cut it down to a length that you like. I'm sure your kits have extra string in them, so you could also just see if there's another piece that's a little bit shorter. use my loop method and get some spaghetti coming up the side of the bowl. That's a big one. That's a nice long noodle I got there that time. Keep working on filling in that white space. This is the part that takes the longest, and it's the messiest, but it's also the most fun. You can paint with other things besides brushes. And you don't have to use the whole string each time. You can add short little noodles to fill in the areas where you still see a lot of white paint. Keep moving your string around and pressing it down. Once it's pretty saturated with paint, you don't need to dip it nearly as often. I actually need a little bit more paint. I'm going to wipe my hands off. Just like that. Really focus on the outside of the bottom, like this outer part, and the sides, because a lot of this middle is going to get covered up with the sauce. I think I'm almost done. I like the way my bowl is starting to look. Couple more, and I should be good. Just like that. That looks pretty good. I forgot to mention, you should also have your sponge in front of you. We'll get back to that though. Okay, so I'm all done with my spaghetti. So I'm just gonna set my string and my plate aside. I'm gonna need my plate again in a few minutes. For right now, I'm just gonna set it off to the side. Kind of wipe my hands off just to get some of that paint off. And now I'm going to use my big round brush, the bigger round brush. All right, I always like to have my brush damp, so I got it wet and I dried it off. Now I'm going to use my red paint pot. That's the paint pot number 2392, and it's the red one, 2392. I'm gonna dip my red brush in here and I'm gonna make my sauce. Now my sauce isn't very specific shape. It's just a whole bunch of sauce in the bottom of the bowl, just completely random. And I just kind of messily spread it around until I get a shape that I like, and then I fill that in. Maybe I add a little bit right there, just like there's a little splash of sauce up there. Okay, and now I'm just going to lightly tap. I'm not brushing, I'm not jamming my brush down. I'm just very lightly tapping inside my shape. I dip my brush in the paint and then I just lightly tap to fill in my spaghetti sauce shape. And you can see how that makes it so you can see some of the noodles underneath. So we're just kind of tapping, 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 not brushing, just up and down, but not hard. We don't want to bend the brush bristles. We're just letting the brush touch the bowl very gently. And we tap it up and down. Just like that. And now my sauce is done. So I'm going to rinse out my round brush and set it off the side. And I'm all done now with the red paint. So I'm going to cap that and move on to the brown color. Okay, so the brown is our meatballs. Now, if you don't like meatballs, you don't have to put them onto your plate or into your bowl. But I do like meatballs, so I'm gonna add a little brown off to the corner here of my paper plate. It's all right if it mixes in with the yellow, no big deal. And I'm gonna take my sponge dauber, that's the round sponge on a stick, and I'm gonna get brown paint all over it. Oh, I'm gonna need more. Okay, so I'm just gonna pounce it up and down right here till I have brown paint all over my sponge dauber. And then I'm going to push it down and make a meatball. There's one. Get a little bit more brown paint and repeat the process. And one more meatball. I think I'll put that one right here. And I think I have enough paint to make 3, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do one more right here. Just like that. Now I have a bowl full of spaghetti and meatballs. Okay, one last step before we flip it over and put our name on. I forgot to mention the sponge. So this is, we're gonna go back to our blue paint. So go ahead and reopen your blue paint. And you should have a half sponge, and we're gonna dip just one little edge in here. Okay, and then I always scrape off all the extra paint. I get some on there, but then I scrape it off. And I'm just going to use the sponge and go around the edge of my bowl. So you can see I'm just wiping it around the edge. Okay, get a little bit more paint. Turn my bowl. Like that, and what we're doing is just giving our bowl a nice clean edge. There we go. So now our bowl has this nice clean blue edge, and it's all done. So we're, I think I'm gonna sign my bowl with my blue, but so right now it's kind of wet, so you need to let it dry for a little bit. Once it's dry, you're gonna come back. Let's pretend this is the bowl I just painted. So once it's dry and you can flip it over, you're gonna come back, you're gonna take the little brush and either the red or the blue paint. It's up to you, or you can use brown too. So either the red, blue, or brown paint, and you're going to take your little brush and you're going to write your name or your initials, okay? So I'm going to write my name. My name is Karen. So I'm going to paint my name on here. Okay, so your name or your initials, and maybe you even want to write the year, so I'm going to write 2020 on mine. Just like that. See my name on there? Oops. So I am all done. I hope you guys had fun. So what do you need to do next? Just rinse out your brushes and your sponge. Just rinse them out, maybe under the sink water. Just let it run over them and let them dry, okay? Including your sponge dauber, your sponge, and any brushes that you might have used, okay? And then once this is dry, you just pack up all the supplies, the paints that are left over, the paper plate you can just toss, and the spaghetti strings you can just toss. But all the other supplies, just pack them back up into your box. Once your bowl is dry, pack that up in your box, and we will be around to pick them up. If you are watching this video and not the live version, please let us know. Send us a note when your items are ready to be picked up, and we'll come get them and get them fired so we can get you your spaghetti bowls back. All right, thanks for coming, everyone. I hope you enjoyed Spaghetti with the Yeti. Have a great day. Bye.